welcome to In the Loop. We're here this morning with Jerry and Nadia from United Way of Northeast Kentucky. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for coming in this morning.
Pleasure to be here.
And today we're going to talk about their new 211 program. But first, I'd like to do a little introductions. So, Jerry, what is it that you do with United Way?
I'm the executive director of the United Way of Northeast Kentucky, our United Way that covers the Northeast Kentucky area, Boyd, Greenup, Carter, Elliot, and Lawrence counties in Kentucky.
Great. And Nadia?
I am the 211 coordinator. I 2 months in, so
Excellent.
very new but very excited.
Very cool. So United Way, I know that everyone is familiar with the United Way being a nonprofit. So let's talk a little bit about what the United Way does.
Well, the United Way, there are 1,400 United Ways throughout the world. And what United Way is charged with is finding out what community issues are and finding solutions to the problems that communities face, some of the most pressing needs and pressing problems, and finding solutions and helping to fundraise and support and collaborate with organizations throughout their area to and in the community to bring change and to make great things happen.
I think it's an exceptional organization. So today we're here, as I mentioned previously, to talk about a new program to the local United Way, which is 211. It's Nadia's specialty here. So 211, we're all familiar with 911, 411. There's a whole bunch of something -1-1s. So what is 211?
So 211 is essentially an information and referral service. What makes it so different and so much better than most of your information and referral services is essentially the database and the quality of information that is going in there. Just the level of detail that we have in the database is astounding. And just by doing that, we can really deliver. We can collect and deliver so much more information to the community about the organizations that serve the community.
Great. So why did we decide in this region that it would be a critical service to have here?
Again, we work with a lot of community partners,
Mm-hmm.
and we try to find opportunities where, we can collaborate and really identify what those community issues are. And one such opportunity came open a few years ago. King's Daughters Medical Center and Our Lady of Bellefonte Hospital collaborated together to form a health coalition called Healthy Choices, Healthy Communities.
Mm-hmm.
And this health coalition started off with a mission to reduce the obesity rate in our area, which we all hear about all of the time and,
Right.
and is a problem. And they started to realize that there are other issues as well. There's even issues around that obesity issue, such as poverty and the access to food and access to resources. So the Health Coalition and United Way started, because we became a part of this Health Coalition, and we did a strategic plan as a coalition, and we started to have conversations with the community to determine, what do we really need? What do you want us to focus on? And the community, overwhelmingly came back and said, we have a problem with multiple things, poverty, obesity, other things, but we have a problem with access to resources. Where do you call? Who do you call for food? Who do you call if you live in one of those food deserts and you need help? Or if your elderly mother couldn't afford her prescriptions? Who do you call? And there's people just bounce around. And fortunately for us, we were just throughout the state of Kentucky starting to roll out some 211 programs and expanding the service. And we said, this is great. United Way has a solution that we can bring to this community. Mm-hmm. We need your support, and we will need funding and things like that for it. And working with these community partners, the hospitals, and doing our own fundraising, we were able to see this come to fruition with bringing this 211 service to our area, getting Nadia on board, and to help to run that program. And we just received a grant yesterday from the Our Lady of Bellefonte Hospital Foundation of $25,000.
Wow.
So that'll help us to sustain this program. And that was our big thing, was we can start it, but we have to sustain it. It's too big to fail. It's a huge service. So
you mentioned a couple of the health and human type services that will be available through 211, namely food assistance and prescription assistance. What are some of the other types of services that people can inquire about through 211?
Essentially, where 911, we talked about it, is mostly for critical urgent care and emergencies. 211 is essentially for anything else. Your basic needs, food, housing, shelter, or, if you're looking for mental health services, if you're seeking shelter, if you're seeking utility assistance, which is a big one around here. Emergency crisis situations, the American Red Cross services that they provide, the floods that happen in our area, any sort of assistance that is a human quality of life need, 211 can help with.
Great. So with the variety of those services that are available, how do you solicit or find agencies that want to become involved? You mentioned a few community partners, but it seems like a pretty massive undertaking, because I know myself through this position, working out in the community, a lot of them are a little bit behind I don't know the best way to phrase it other than it's not exactly obvious where they're at sometimes. So how do you seek and find? Do they come to you, or do you have, what do you do?
My hope is that they do come to me. That would make my life a lot easier. But at the same time, I really like getting involved in the community. And part of it is kind of a seeking out who we have. Our area churches are astoundingly great at providing really, really excellent human services to our community. So churches, or even for-profit businesses that are having some sort of a service set aside for someone at a lower or free cost. I mean, it's really just about exploring the community and finding out what I don't know.
Awesome. So, one of my phrases that is kind of like a life phrase about just looking at our community in the tri-state region in particular is need. And there's a lot of it, which we've talked about, which makes this service brilliant to have available for folks free as well. But there is also what appears to me to be a bit of redundancy in services, like if there are food pantries that operate on the same days. Again, need is need, and there's a lot of it, but does what 211 offer help pool those resources and recognize disparity in need, or let's elaborate on that just a bit.
The great thing, and I'm a bit of a nerd, so I get really excited about the technical
she
aspects.
is. I can vouch for that.
Of
Nerds
211.
are cool. It's fun.
That's right.
So,
That's why we hired her. I mean, we needed a nosy nerd for this. I mean, really.
But the great thing about this is not only is it a database, it's not printed, so it's maintained by me online, so it's live and it's dynamic and it's never really outdated. The flip side of that, the information is, the database to its core is only as good as the information that I can feed it, which, again, falls on me and the community to kind of work together to get as much up-to-date and accurate details as possible so that we can go and help those in need of those services. The nice thing about 211 is that it actually is a great data collection tool as well. We're not going to collect your personal information. If you don't want us to, we're not even going to know your name. But there is a flip side to where we can kind of collect the number of callers from county to county, what they're looking for, right down to whether they needed help in utility assistance specifically to pay their gas bill, or what the situation is, and whether they got that help or service or not.
Great.
Which can turn around to be, identify our strengths and kind of help us pick up where we have gaps.
Where there could be a gap.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I love the fact that you recognize that as well, Shane. I think, I often say, I think there's a lot of really, really big-hearted, well-meaning people in our community, but they may not work in this field and in this arena. And, they see something and they see one instance of it maybe, and they think it's a broader problem, but they may not realize that there are already some agencies that are working on that. And so we end up with a lot of similar services sometimes. And I talk to school kids a lot of times, do some projects and things, and I always tell students, find your passion and find out what excites you, and then see if there's something in your community that's already doing that before you go out and maybe start something. And I think that this service will help us to see there's a lot of this being provided,
Right.
but there's none of that, which is a systemic issue of that. And I know it sounds a little technical in the service world, but for those that are looking to provide or looking to start a service or want to do something, maybe they'll realize, we don't need a whatever, clothing closet or food pantry or whatever in this area. What we need is, this is not here at all, whatever that happens to be. That's a very exciting aspect of it to us, and I think it's part of what really excited even the Health Coalition was, the ability to be able to extrapolate this data for our community and really understand it better.
I think it's phenomenal service. So, two questions then, both kind of interrelated. So, your community partners that become part of the database, say anybody that's watching this program wants to become involved, they have a service in place, and they're like, I want to be part of it. How do they reach out?
Well, it's really easy. You can go on the website. It's uwnek.org. And there is a section for 211 on it. So you can just read through the inclusion application and fill it out in its entirety. And I get notifications right when it happens. So I can update the database and get the agency in there.
Awesome. So before I get into the consumer side of things, how they would reach it, I guess a question that I was thinking of there is, you previously referenced that you continually update it, that it's a dynamic database system. Do you follow up with the agencies at specific intervals to check into the types of services or continuation of services?
Right. The database, the quality of data is monitored by a national agency.
Okay.
So they require that we maintain at least a yearly update of the agencies. I'm probably going to be a little bit more aggressive and do maybe 6 months or so, simply because services just change so quickly. So.
Awesome. So thank you for kind of filling in that detail. So the other side of the question when it comes to seeking these services, then we've talked about how a service provider can reach out to you, someone in need.
Yes.
They dial 211. So we know from earlier conversation that you serve 5 counties with Northeast, with your United Way in Northeast Kentucky. If someone in Carter County calls and they have a need in Carter County, but they coincidentally are in Greenup, how are they assured that they're going to be connected with a person in the area where they have a need that is serviced by your footprint?
I've actually met the call center girls who are going to be handling the 211 calls. Again, Shane, you can access 211 by dialing 211 from any landline or cell phone. You could also, we have a mobile app. If you search for UWNEK 211 or 211 UWNEK, depending on if you have Android or iOS. Or you could go to the website uwnek211.org and kind of search for those. But the call navigators that we have are very, very compassionate, wonderful, wonderful people, and they're very experienced as well. So they're very good about kind of asking you the correct questions to lead you in the right direction,
Great.
regardless of, where you happen to be. Is that where you're looking for the service, or is there someone else? Are there more individuals involved? Things like that. They're just amazing people.
Very cool. So you mentioned call center employees, something that I think people are very passionate about when they call any type of service. I think it's probably everywhere, but in particular around here is, are they local? That matters to people. So is it a regional call center that services people in our area?
Yeah, it's one of the things that we decided. Obviously, a call center is a large undertaking and a huge expense. We're a small area, and so we were looking at how can we do this the most efficiently. And so we have a call center close to us, which is operated by the United Way of the Bluegrass in Lexington, one of our sister United Ways in Kentucky that we work very closely with on a lot of projects throughout the state. And they have a great call center. They've been in existence now for, I think, going on a decade or so.
Oh, wow.
And so we felt that they would be a great partner for this. So we're utilizing their call center. That's a seamless thing. Callers would never realize a database is a database that you could access anywhere. So that gets a little bit technical on it, but they're as familiar with our region, I think, now as they are the Lexington area. So that I don't think a caller would have any concern with not getting the information, because they have all of the access to the information that we would have. And like Nadia was saying, it's so accessible via. You can text 211
Oh, wow.
by
Okay.
by texting 898-211 your zip code.
Yes.
Your zip code to 898-211 from your mobile phone. You could text and start a conversation. One of the great conversations that I had about that particular piece of it being the text and the going online to the database itself, was with the Health Coalition. They said, wow, this would be amazing for our case managers in the hospitals, who are always trying to create these cheat sheet resource guides, for their patients. So if you've got a case manager on the floor or social worker that's sitting there getting ready to discharge a patient, and the patient says, I'm not going to be able to afford these prescriptions. I don't have a ramp on my, house, and I don't have these things. These case managers are then reaching out, trying to find their resources that they know of, that they would be able to start a conversation via text by a patient's bed, or pull up the database and print off some information for a patient, was a real exciting aspect of it to a lot of our healthcare workers.
Absolutely.
Because you don't have to be the person in need. I mean, kind of joke that if you cut yourself and you're bleeding out, you may call 911 yourself. But if Nadia's sitting there beside me when I do it, she's probably going to be the one to call 911. The same way, if someone in your family's in need, they could that could be the person you call and ask. I had a woman recently who called and asked about Meals on Wheels programs for her mother. Now with 211, she's going to call 211 instead of calling around. And that's what she said. She said, I've called around to multiple places and I can't get information. And so with 211, that's going to...
One stop shop.
Stop.
Yeah.
Kind of. One stop resource.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So I guess in closing here, are there any details that we haven't covered today that you kind of like to talk about for either of you?
I'm going to bring up something, that I recently heard Nadia say in a presentation that she was giving, and I thought it just hit the nail on the head, and it was, if you have an emergency, call 911. For anything else, call 211.
Right.
Great. Nadia, is there anything else you'd like to say?
It's just a really great service, and I'm so excited to get it
Awesome.
to get it here in our area.
I believe a lot of folks in the area will also be very excited. So we appreciate again you all coming in this morning
Thank
and
you.
kind of sharing. You're very welcome. So for Armstrong, I'm Shane Fenster. Make it a great day.